Welcome to Club Wisdom 8's 2022 ranking, the beta version, which will be for Eternal Saga and should be able to help everyone in general, especially those who are newcomers and those who are still climbing up. Enjoy! With regard to explaining the ranking, you just need to have an understanding. We're talking about a hero, we're talking about their stats, which is in the top right, and then we're going to be looking at their ultimate skill and how good that is compared to other heroes perhaps, as well as normal skill 1 and 2. You must remember normal skill 1 is extremely important because it's for the later game where when you awaken your unit, it will buff up normal skill 1. Please keep that in mind because I'm not going to talk about it too often. But some of the rankings will be influenced by this, by what their future outcome is. Finally, faction skill. Each unit has a faction skill, and if they're the main leader, there's 4 people who can have use their ultimates. There's 4 types of leader, but there's one main type that can control everything, and that was the person who owns the faction skill. That's in the top left. So that will prop faction skills. So keep that in mind. For example, Alus's faction skill here increases the Royam's max HP by 10%. He's a Royam faction. He will increase their HP by 10% for 50 seconds with a cooldown of 60 seconds. Actually, that's quite impressive. Anyway, so let's get back to the ranking. With regard to rankings, I have no idea what it's finally going to look like. I have zero idea. I'm going to be thinking and surmising along the way. Even I want to know. I want to have my own idea where everyone is put so that I can consider how I can improve them or whether they need to go down in how I use them. How we use heroes in this game, there's too many areas. They could be used in an underground cave. There's 4 different ways they could be used in arena. They can be used in the world raid. They can be used in the goblin mine. They can be used in boss battles. They can be used in sieges. They can be used in guild battles, like the boss battles in the guild. There are many ways a hero can be used. I'm going to be looking at the general ways. However, if there are some heroes that are quite exceptional, I might highlight them in this. Okay, so I hope that helps. With regard to the ranking and the choice of heroes being used, we're going to go in the same timeline as Korea as they brought out the heroes. So from the beta, it came out in Korea in around February, but the beta came out before that. And they had an array of heroes coming out regularly. So let's follow the Korean way and let's give some rankings. We're going to start with Alus, the protagonist, the hero, the main hero of the game, the one the story evolves around. With regard to Alus, he's actually like, how do I put it, the laughable character. He's the one people try and use and just think, okay, I'm going to just pull a better hero. He's just that kind of hero no one really wants. However, we're missing the point. We're missing the point big time. Yes, most swordsmen suck. That's no joke. No joke. And yes, his ultimate is nothing special, which is fine, because it means he will not play as your main unit. He will not be one of the main 4. But it's not his what is it, knockback. It's not that. It's his normal 2. Now this, when your HP drops to 75% or less, he increases the attack, the physical attack of 25% and physical defense of 25% for 12.5 seconds, and the cooldown is 20 seconds. Now, sorry, that's only on this one because I've put it up to level 6. You got to understand that it's normally 25 seconds. The cooldown. You got to understand that Alus's normal 2 is the best buff in the game. By far. He is underestimated. That buff is amazing. If he is under 75%, everyone It's not just people from Royam, it's not just sword units, it's every single unit will get a buff. And it's physical attack and physical defense. And it's a buff of over 20%. Now, and the cooldown is really short, and it lasts, the time it lasts is really nice. This buff is underestimated and makes Alus, strange enough, one of the best in the game. As a support, not as a DPS, in fact, and it's not really it's like a support, it's not like a tank, it's literally like a support magician type role. He's only good for that. Once he's hit, once he's under 75%, if you can make sure your healer doesn't heal him, you stick him in a corner, you let him run away, and you let him keep that buff proccing. If you can keep that buff proccing, he's the best. If you can't keep that buff proccing, he's trash. How's that? So everything depends upon your skills of play. As it's going to be very difficult to get him into a situation where this can proc, it doesn't make him an S or a double S, but it does make him an A or a B from my point of view. So I tend to go on horrible, and I tend to put people in Bs if I'm worried about it. But for some strange reason, I have leveled him up to level 60, and I might even 6-star him. I will never awaken him, but he is, because no one else can do a move like that, he's an A. Fair and square. But when you play with him, if you're new, you're not going to think he's an A. You're going to think he's a D or whatever. But give him time. Don't put too much effort into him. He will work out, especially in arena. Think carefully about this. He doesn't waste your ultimate slot. Next, we're now going to talk about an archer called Lena, and you get her right at the start of the game, practically level 2, and you get her at 3 as your own, one of your major heroes. Lena is actually the same faction as Alus, and as expected, she should be absolute trash as well, because it's like a free hero. However, again, it's a bit unusual. When you actually use her, yeah, she's no good in general. She isn't any good. However, she's actually the complete opposite. She's actually one of the best in this game, and one of the first I 6-starred. That's very important. If you're gonna like roll for a unit 6 times, that's gonna cost you a lot. It's gonna take a lot of time, and you need to be careful who you're going to keep doing that for. That means I didn't just pull her once, I pulled her 6 times. So I went all the times to get her, and that used up a lot of gems. Why would anyone go so far for this hero? Because of her ultimate skill. Generally increases your archer unit, any archer's unit's attack speed by 300% for 5 seconds. And the cooldown's 30 seconds. That might not sound like a lot, okay? That doesn't, maybe to you it doesn't sound like a lot, but as you upgrade the stars, this gets more powerful, and when you put her with archers, it doesn't matter about the faction. What you're going to get is amazing. The outcome is going to be unbelievable. You can see it in the game. You can see how much 300% means. And everybody who's been playing this for a while, now this is not for the newbies at the moment, let me tell you something, this is 300%. When you put a ring on, think about it, okay, attack speed 300%. Think carefully, everyone, how important this is. 300%. Attack speed is 1. Look at the stats, 1. This is very important to understand. the attack speed is really low. Now, if you're increasing by 300%, that means your attack speed becomes 300, I believe. Anyway, it should be like that. Now, in this game, you're going to get equipment and rings. I'm quickly saying this out. You guys need to know this. You get equipment and rings, and the rings will only give like 10%. And that 10% is meaningless. So you have a good archer unit and you think you want to put that ring on. 10% has hardly any meaning at all. You've got to understand and be careful with the kind of equipment you're using. For example, if you're using a ring on these kinds of archers, you might want to go for crit instead, or physical power or whatever. And also, even worse is that attack speed doesn't increase the speed of the normal skill 1 and normal skill 2 or the ultimate. It's just the normal attacks. Please keep this in mind. Attack speed is dangerous, but to get 300% is amazing on everyone. No one else can do that. No one else can buff everyone like that in terms of the archers. Not one archer can do that except her. She is by far one of the must-haves in the game. How far should you go? Where should Lena be put? She's definitely more important than a loose. She's definitely going to be one of the main ones you're going to be pushing up to 6 stars. She's going to be S. If you ever have orc archers, any archers, you're going to need her. You're going to need her for so many things if you're going to use archers. If you're not going to use archers at all, she's no good. So this depends on you. But most people will need to use archers at some point. Next, we have Zenus, as long as that's how you say his name. He is the swordsman from the Empire unit. Zenus is also a hero I have that is a 6-star hero for me. However, do I recommend everyone to 6-star him and put a lot of effort into him? I would say this is extremely mixed. Now, what makes him good? As a swordsman, there's nothing especially great about him except for his ultimate skill. His ultimate skill can increase your ranged evasion for a swordsman only, but any swordsman, by 25%, and the physical defense by 50% for 10 seconds. And of course, as you start him up, this improves a lot. I think it's 50%. Let me double check with you right now. So this is him at 6 stars, so you can quickly like make a comparison and go back and forward. And yeah, so it's not his ranged evasion 35%, but his physical defense 50%, and it's for 15 seconds. Cooldown I think is the same. Now, so you can see the differences in a 6-star and a 1-star. Anyway, this buff is very important, so he would be one of the main 4 you would use. And it's important if you, again, it's weird because it's important if you use sword units, and unfortunately sword units in this game generally suck. This game doesn't work like the normal Holy Trinity like you expect from a game, healer, support, DPS or whatever. These guys are supposed to be some kind of tank, some kind of DPS. No one knows really what they are because they don't really do their job very well. It's like they're not really so good at attack, and by the time they've defended, they've been killed. So it's very difficult. Either way, if you're against loads of archers, this 35% might be enough to get all the swords unit in and take them out. So how often are you going to be against lots of archers? In quests, yes, at many points. Chaos 23, you get ready for that one. But generally speaking, not many people are using like orc archers at the moment in Arena. I'm not seeing it very often. It's generally Amazons. So I would say, do you need him? Probably not. Is he important as a swordsman? Probably. At the moment, I'm going to say he's probably the best. As we continue, you'll get to see. But as a swordsman, he's probably the best. But I'd still, for a swordsman, but is he good? Probably not. in general, because most swordsmen suck. So there you have it. So as Zenus is very tricky, he's going to get on the ladder. With regard to going on the ladder, I would say he has potential. I'd say in the future he might become one of the best as people go for orc archers and even werebeast archers. His sword unit might help. However, because sword units are not very good, if the werebeast sword unit, sword soldiers, are really good, then he's going to become one of the best. So I would put him up. If werebeast sword units became the main meta, he would be up here, because the swordsman beast unit has no buff like that. So he would be up here, but at the moment he's gonna fall. He's probably worth a C or a D, so I'm gonna leave him there. Next, let's talk about Michael or Mikhail, one of these other strange named people that can't be named in a normal way. This guy with the red hair, who is a free unit and most people will ignore and never want again. And here he is. Welcome. What can this spearman from the Roem group? Again, you will have the free Alus, you will also have Mikhail, and you'll have Lena. So you're already going to have quite a good faction combination. Okay. However, what can he do? What can he offer? Well, his ultimate's quite interesting. Increases your spearman unit. So all the units, it will increase their defense by 100%. And that's for 10 seconds with a cooldown of 35 seconds. That defense really is irritating. If you were against enough spearmen, if you had a group of really good spearmen, which I can say, it's difficult to say there's a group of really good spearmen at the moment. It's debatable. It's quite debatable. But if I were to pick spearmen, they'd probably be maybe archer ones. But let's wait and see about the werebeasts. If the werebeasts have powerful spearmen, then Mikhail will be a top unit. At the moment, because of that ultimate skill, it's not really great because not many people are going to need it, I'd say, at the moment. Nevertheless, don't underestimate him because of Normal 1. Normal 1 is very important at the end game because Awakening influences Normal 1. He deals 300% physical damage to a distant enemy. Distant. Interesting. Reducing their movement speed by 90% for 5 seconds. So that's very interesting, a 90%. So that will take, if someone's movement speed is 1, it will take their movement speed down to 0.1. And their ability to move, yeah, I mean, if they can't really move very well, I mean, that's going to influence many things. But this still isn't enough. I mean, and his Normal 2, nothing too special. So is there anything that makes him good? Absolutely. There is something that makes him good. It's his Awakening. He's one of the best Awakenings in the game. He not only deals 400% damage, which is an increase of 100%. Normally, Awakenings will just do something like that. But instead, not only the movement speed by 90%, but the attack speed. There's an addition of an attack speed drop by 50% for 6 seconds, and the cooldown is only 7 seconds. Now, if he got close to archers, and because he's a spear and a ranged unit, he might be able to cause quite a lot of trouble. In arena, I've been surprised and I've managed to be outdone by him as an awakened unit. He's dangerous if you awaken him. However, because awakening is not, it's not just having 200 shards to awaken someone. You actually have to upgrade this level and take it like to 20ish. So no. By the time you awaken him, if you're free to play, a year will have gone. I'm joking, but a year will have gone. So what do we do with him? I can only make a comparison between him and Zenus. In general, spear units are more important than sword units because of certain units here that change the game. However, not everyone will feel that way. Not everyone's going to feel that way. So it depends. Now, is Mikau as good as Zenus? Most people would probably say no. Most people will say no, but like I say, if he's awake, then he will outshine Zenus. So in the long term, he might do better. It depends. It's really difficult. It's really difficult. I mean, if it was 10%, if it was 100%, if his ultimate was 100% defense to everyone, if I needed him, if he could really have the ability to get in and cause that damage, that would help. But he'd need some tanks around him. He's really difficult. He's really difficult. I don't know if he should be a C. I don't know if he should be a D. It's really, really hard. But he would probably be everyone's last on the list. So, no. Oh! He's gone. And he's back. So, next on the list will be Lavia. However, I'm making a small change to Mikau. I'm putting him on the ladder. The ladder means he might have potential for certain areas. So, he's going to take a ladder. And not just that, Zenus will also take the ladder. So I will double them up, and I will put them on the ladder. It means they could actually have a huge ability to climb up. So these two have some huge potential. So they're staying on the ladder for now. Next up again is Lavia. Oops, and she's a healer. Club Wisdom 8. So welcome to Lavia in her full form. She is a free hero, free unit, and how is she? Well, she is one of the top magicians you can have. But she's for the elf faction. The elf faction is one that not everyone uses, but still one of the popular ones. Now, she's a bit unusual compared to other healers at the moment in the game. With regard to her, she can heal everyone. Restores HP of all units. She's, I believe, if I remember, we'll probably find out more later, but I believe from what I remember, there's no one who can heal every unit. It doesn't matter where the units are, she will heal them. And that is unbelievable, but the side effect, the problem is that it's only 200% of her magic attack. However, which is weird, if her HP is under 90%, then her magic attack will increase by 50%, and then like if it procs with her ultimate skill, then it would jump up the healing. But it's a bit too weird. It's a bit too weird, and you'd have to level that up a lot. It's not easy because 200% isn't much. So what are you going to do? Recovery is normally the same. Recovers HP of one of your units by 300% of your magic attack. It's a very difficult one. If your units are all over the place, then she's going to be one of the best. If your units are all together, then she's going to be one of the worst. Think very carefully about her, but I would say, because she's the only one who can heal everyone wherever they are, she's one of the top ones. Whereas most other healers can only heal people in a certain area, so they all can do it. But this one is different. Very important to think about. All in all, everyone needs a Lavia, and she's definitely going to be one who will eventually have to be jumped up to 6 stars. So she's definitely one of the better healers and one of the best. Her consistency makes her super. It's really hard what to do with her, honestly, but depending on your faction, if you're not using elf, then maybe you're still going to need her, you see. Like when you have arena 3v3, she's going to be on one of the teams. When you have double teams, when you have guild teams, you're going to be using her all the time. So she becomes one of the best. So again, I'll put her as an S, but in some respects I might like to put her as an S and an A, because there are quite a lot of healers in the game. So this depends. So for now I'm just going to put her as an S, but I'm going to put her on the ladder. Ugh, no, I'd put her on. If I gave her an A, I would put her on the ladder. But I'm giving her an S. I'm giving her an S because she deserves a 6-star. She deserves to be re-rolled another 5 times on top of having her. She's that important. But there's still something strange about calling her an S unit. But I'm going to give her an S only because she can heal everyone. No one else has that level of ability. It's like AoE healing galore. So who's next? That is Sophia, the cavalry unit. This is going to be an interesting one. This is probably going to be the most controversial one of all. So for this unit, she is a free unit that you get when you first play, and there are some super strange people who think that she's so good that she's the first one, you got a 6-star and you got to put everything into her. So this is really a weird one. Now, she's a cavalry unit, and these units are extremely weak. Their physical defense is weak, magic defense is weak, so generally speaking, as long as they get the first hit, they're the winners. But after a while, they can't sustain, so they die pretty quickly. So ultimately, the aim is if you could get them into the archers, which you can't really because they'll kill you, but for magicians, you should theoretically be able to have a team of them and get them in and wipe out the magicians. It should be like that, but you would need her to be, I would say, super powerful to go up against some very good magicians. How powerful would she need to be? Well, I would say not only 6-star, she needs to be awakened. Now, if she's awakened, she can, I believe, she can reduce, I think she can reduce their, in fact, it's not clear what they can reduce. It's not written clearly in English. But she can, I believe she can reduce perhaps their attack speed. But I'm just thinking, is that really needed for against the magician? It's really a double-edged sword, but I'm going to say if you're going to choose Sophia, if you want Sophia, then I'm going to say you should have all of them. You don't just have Sophia, you have to have all the other cavalry, and you need to make sure they're all awakened, and you need to make sure they're all super strong. So I would say this is a Wales unit. Very good unit for a whale. This unit will feel great when you first play. Yeah, 666. You'll feel you have the power of the devil. However, it won't be long until you realise that there's another hero you should have got instead. You might go far with her at the beginning, but that isn't really far compared to where other heroes can take you. Okay, so I hope that helps. So, how is she going to be graded? Honestly, it's difficult, and I'm definitely going to have people hate me either way. So, what I want with Sophia, she's definitely going to have to go on the ladder, because I definitely can't give her a good grade. So, you know, because I've already said it's not a good grade, you know, that I'm already telling you, for me, it's really difficult. It's honestly really difficult, because she is one of the best cavalry units. She was the best until someone else came. So, for me, I like the other one. It's so difficult. Everything on paper looks so good with her. All her stats look so good. But I think there are so many bugs in this game that some bugs make other heroes better. So that's another thing to keep in mind. It's like, even what's written down, it doesn't always work out like that. I hate to give her a... Alright, let me tell you, when I first used her and I liked her and stuff, I thought brilliant. And, you know, for the event, she's important. you know, in many respects and blah blah blah. In some respects for the Christmas event, but some respects not. You didn't even need her. So when I first played her, she would have been a D. That's as far as I was concerned. Having seen her potential, I've seen her potential for a whale. A whale's potential could theoretically put her up here as a whale. That's true. I've seen, but what it takes to, the amount of money, the amount of time it takes to get her to that standard, it's beyond worth it. It's impossible nearly. So again, should she just fit into a B? No, I'm not even bothering. I'm not putting her as a B, which is going to cause a lot of problems. But I'm putting her on the ladder, which means that she is worth a B, and she is kind of worth a B. I can see that. I can see that she can go up. She does have potential if you use her correctly. But in general, she will not be used correctly by anyone. Well, unless you have the cash. Or unless the enemies are so weak and you need speed, it's that simple. But yeah, that's it really. But there are other heroes who don't need to be sitting on horses who could do a better job. Okay, so don't kill me. I remember that guy, KUID. All he ever talks about in chat is how he's 6 stars of Sophia, and it's quite irritating. So enjoy that. Sorry everyone. Next. So going back to before, I'm making this ranking so that even for me, I can look back at this and I can just confirm and maybe challenge these assumptions and think, how can I make them better? For example, I will be very interested to use Mikau and make him better. I have no interest in Sophie because she's for the whale, unless someone proves me wrong. Someone take her to Chaos and do something good with her at a later level. Whatever. I'm interested in Zenus. I'm interested in Michael. I want to see what they can do. I really think they have some potential, but it's hard to use. Next up is Silphir. I don't know how to say it. Either way, when I first played this game, I didn't even know it was a female. So Silphir, I would say, is the most loneliest archer in the game. She's in a really sad situation. It's not, no, she doesn't need a boyfriend. It's not like that. Her sad situation is that she's really good. But because in this game, the archers in general, the hero archers are really, really good in this game. They're on another level. Because they're so good, she falls. So we have a bit of a problem. We have a bit of a problem here. So her ultimate skill, yeah, it can hit loads and yeah, just travel straight through. And yeah, enemies hit by the arrow take 50% of fire damage every 6 seconds or whatever. So it's nice. I like that. It's nice. It's nice to 6-star her, see where it goes. But this knockback doesn't really improve too much with Awakening. So this is the first problem. However, this normal 2 is brilliant, that she increases the physical attack of an archer unit by 25% for 5 seconds when you kill an enemy. Now, this is brilliant, and after Lena, this definitely becomes the best buff. But you need to kill an enemy. So this is just weird. It's like we need a stronger physical attack in order to kill the enemy to begin with. We don't want to wait for her to kill an enemy. And also, if this normal 2 had been normal 1, and was awakened and became something else, she might have overtaken Lena. In fact, she would have overtaken Lena if it didn't involve killing enemies. She would have overtaken Lena because it's a normal, and that means we wouldn't have had to waste Lena by putting her in an ultimate by taking up a leader, one of the leader ranges. It's very important to know that if the normal skills are better than the ultimate skill, for me, this hero is super. Remember, we have 20 slots and only 4 ultimate skills can be used per 20. And it's not always like that, you know? Like, it's not always like that. Sometimes it's different, sometimes it's worse. So be prepared, guys. Be prepared. So what to do with this one is super difficult. Again, who knows where to put her? She's definitely an archer worth having. She's good, but there are just too many good archers. Either way, if I had an archer team, I would want her on my archer team. Okay, so I'm gonna be weirdly kind. I'm gonna give her I was going to give her a B, but I want to give her a C, and I just want to put her under a C here, but for her potential, I want to put her on the ladder. But okay, she's going to be a C, and the main reason why is because this is mainly aimed at free to play. If there were whales, if this was for whales, it would just be much higher. She has more potential she has more potential for the whales, because actually you can't just keep starring up everyone all day and night, and it's going to take you ages. So I'll leave her at C, but she is good. She's worth it for that buff. Next up, we have Yarrow Yaragash. If YouTube give me a strike for saying that word, that just isn't fair. That is his name given by some crazy person. Don't even look up the last 4 letters in the dictionary. So, Yarrow Yaragash, the swordsman with the axes. Yep. Okay, don't know why that's called a swordsman. Just to remind you, don't forget his faction is the Orc faction, and Orcs are generally good for their archers in terms of their soldiers. With regard to Yarrow Yaragash, he's a mixed sword. His buff, he has a buff like Zenus, but his buff is for attack speed and movement speed. Now, at both attack speed and movement speed, if you increase it by 50%, what does that mean? Does it mean that movement speed of 1 in his stats goes up to, I don't know, 51%, or does it mean it goes up to 1.5? I think it goes up to 1.5 actually, if I remember correctly. Anyway, so, and is it such a big noticeable improvement? And the other thing is, do swordsmen need an increased attack speed, like by so much? Do they really need to focus on that? These are all questions I'm not going to answer, but is the 50% enough? I'm going to say probably not. I'm going to say the attack speed and movement speed in this game are not so noticeable unless it's Lena doing a 300%, the archer. So I'm going to say this may not be noticeable enough. Now, this swordsman is supposed to have a strong DPS, but I mean, I don't even think he can get through to a bunch of magicians. The magician's DPS is far stronger, so it's difficult. Swordsmen, spearmen, they're just such a mess. They're just so wrong in this game. They're just not made the way they should have been. Holy Trinity is messed up in this game. So, Normal 1. Attacks enemies in front in a wide cone, dealing 400% physical damage, knocking them back. I mean, it's a nice move. I'm sure the Awakening will add something, but again, it's really difficult to know if I prefer him to Zenus. I don't feel his buffs are as great. But this is interesting. When your HP drops to 50% or less, restores 50% HP and increases physical attack by 30%. If he was in a one-on-one, this guy might be completely crazy. But still, I don't know if 30% is enough. You know, we saw I think was it Sophia? Didn't she increase something by a lot more? It's just that the idea is really good, but I don't feel the numbers will do enough. So I would say he had the potential to be 100 times better if they increased the percentages. Back to Zenus. I would rather have his physical defense and ranged evasion. I feel it might be used better for getting right into where the archers are in general. So I'd probably go for Zenus, but it's a really difficult situation here. Are we looking at tanks? Are we looking at supports? Are we looking at DPSs? What are these people? So for Yarrow Yaragash, I mean, if you had an orc faction, which a lot of people will do, the Wales will have orc factions in the future, definitely. They can definitely beat the Amazon magicians. So he will definitely be on the ladder, because I can't just say that Yaragash is worth making as like the top or something like that. Whether is he worth a B? I would say no. Is he worth a C? I would say yes, he's worth a C, because in one respect he could be a D, but it's difficult. It's really difficult. But maybe I should just speak personally instead of just trying to think of everyone's situation. So personally, I'm going to make him a D. Sorry, everyone. Don't get too. I mean, if you're free to play, you have to be careful how you don't want to waste too much money. Yes, he can definitely go up. He can go right up, depending on who you play with. So he's on the ladder, but no way. Next is Kriemhild, and at this time of playing, there's a way you can get her for free in a certain beginners gift session if you do all 7 days. So let's move to Kriemhild, female. Here's Kriemhild. I'm going to show you my Kriemhild because Kriemhild is one of my favorites. This one is my Kriemhild. So say hi. Nice skin, I think. Probably one of the best. Now, when I think of Kriemhild, it's weird to think of her as a swordsman. She's a swords female, or a swordswoman to begin with. However, that's not the point. She is so different to every other swordsman that it's like she puts them all to shame, to be honest. It's unbelievable. Not only does she fight, so she's unlike the others here, she's not really providing a buff as her ultimate, but she'll jump in, she'll cause damage, but enemies hit are going to be knocked. There's a knockback, and she will she'll buff herself by 50%. Now, this is interesting. And there's a range. It increases the range. I think that's interesting. Now, what I'm thinking is, no, it's not an increased range. Just that's the range. It's quite a big range. Is this part the Thunderbuster? It deals damage and increases your attack speed. This is extremely good for a normal. The attack speed is increased by 200%. Now that is noticeable, but it's only hers. But again, this is very, very interesting. And if she's hit, 30% of her HP will be healed. So what is she? Is she a DPS? Is she a tank? Well, most of us think of her as a tank. And she is one of the first ones to be awakened, definitely. She can tank so much, she can take so much. She's definitely needed. So, in terms of a swordsman, there's literally no doubt that, from my point of view, she's the best swordsman, unless I'm forgetting someone. We'll see later on if I forget someone. But she's the best swordsman. But we're looking at heroes in the game. She's from Jakan, which is quite an interesting group. Not many heroes I can remember at the moment, so we'll see what happens. But anyway, this is a great unit, and because she's one of the first to be awakened, it just shows how important she is. So where Kriemhild's going to go on this is going to be interesting, but at the same time, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what faction she's in. Everyone's literally going to need her to one extent. There's someone else you could use kind of instead of her, but not only that, you're probably going to use her first, and then you're going to use the other tank as well. Now, it's going to be difficult how to class her. It's definitely whether she's an A or an S, but she's definitely 100 times better than Alus, and her importance for awakening comes before these two. So I'm sorry to say that she's coming up. She's coming up first with Lena. It's not just about awakening, it's about where you want to go. But the problem is with her, I'm going to tell you something about her being an S. There is a bit of a problem here, because at the beginning she won't do much for you. She can't do anything, so it's really hard to know what to do with Kriemhild at the beginning, so that she's for the long term. So sorry, I'm gonna make a change. I'm moving her to the back. I'm sorry about that, because at the beginning, for quite a long time in the game, for a month or two, she's going to be useless. So it could be longer than a month. So because she'll be useless, I can't I don't think I can do that. Yeah. Sorry. Next. So next we're going to be talking about the magician, the one that stands out, called Drusilla. What a strange name. So yeah, I've put a nice skin on her to help reveal her powers, of course, and also pushed her in every way possible. She's also awakened. So I have no problems with this magician at all. I think for the Empire unit, she's great to have, and as you can see, I like to focus on the Empire unit. So with regard to her ultimate skill, her damage over time is very irritating. The knockback is irritating. She can hit loads of people. If you play against her, she just throws like a meteor fireball at you. It's very irritating for people in arena. So that's something, and it's good when you're against loads of people. But either way, it's very difficult to define how good she is. Now, her soul weapon, because I haven't talked about soul weapons, because I don't really focus on soul weapons, because you have to be a millionaire to get them. But her soul weapon, if you ever got her soul weapon, then she becomes literally like the best magician. But not having her soul weapon, she's still a great magician. So this is the kind of situation, but how great is great, because new magicians are coming out that are taking precedence over her. So it's pushing her down. So in a very difficult situation, either way. Being awakened, she can do a lot more, she can cause a lot more problems. And I do rate her quite highly, but I think it's going to be controversial where others are going to rate her. So for Drusilla, whether you must have her, whether she's a must, whether she's not, well, I'm going to say if she's not awakened, if you haven't pushed her up, if you haven't done everything, then she's just average. So where she's going to go, I'm just putting her here. It's unusual, but she does have potential. If you're a whale, she's an S. If you're not a whale, she's a B. Oh, what am I? Okay, next. No introduction. It's Celiac. It is Celiac. So who's Celiac, you say, if you don't know? Yeah, she's a healer, but she's not a healer. She's the healer who revives. So she doesn't really heal people, she just revives people. If you die, you're revived. But she doesn't revive everyone. Her revival, every time it's 35 seconds. But the good thing is, she will focus on normally your top heroes who die, so she will revive them. Even better is, if she dies, she revives herself after 3 seconds, but there's a 120 second cooldown. Now, not just that, if you're using Empire units and you need healing or whatever, yeah, her faction skill, yeah, max HP by 10%. I mean, you can upgrade it, I think, to 20% if I'm correct. Need more water? I mean, I'm so excited. I had to record this because I was swearing about how good she is. I mean, because there's no one else who can revive. It's like Fire Emblem. If there was only one person who can perform the dance move, that person would be super throughout the whole game. But everyone can perform dance in it. Dance gives you an extra move. But this is like, damn it, man. This is brilliant. This resurrection is a must. You will need it. However, it's strange, as you get through the game and you use more tactics, I'm finding I'm using her less. So this is weird. This is weird. There's a lot of things about her. Like, you don't need to star her up. So you just need to just let her do that move. There's not much to improve, not much to awaken. There's so little other things to do. So she's kind of a cheap hero to have. So she's ultimate free-to-play hero. And maybe you won't be able to move further without her for a long time. So what to do with her? She helps in so many different areas that yeah, how do you rate this one? I think it's simple. She's OP. She's OP for who she is. If she healed everyone, she'd be super OP. So she's definitely S ranking. Is she a double S ranking? Let me think as I pop these together. She would come before Lena if she was an S ranking. It's just that later on I don't use her so much. It's very difficult. Do I give her an S or do I give her a double S? As a free to play, she's double S. A whale, S or an A. How's that? Free to play, you now have your first double S unit. So I'm going to say every time you reroll, if you reroll for this game, you got to make sure you just have her at 1 star. However, there might be someone more important than her. Let's find out. Next we're going to talk about Cassius, who belongs to the Empire. Cassius is a cavalry unit so he rides on a horse, and you'd expect him to have a lot of attack, and so he can just kill people, but low defense. But he's a bit of a weird one. He's a buffer, so increases your cavalry unit's attack speed by 50% and movement speed by 50% if you use him as one of your leaders or officers. It's a difficult one with this. It's like, yeah, I mean, having movement speed is nice. Attack speed not so for this type, I'd say. But the movement speed, yeah, that's helpful. So he's like a must if you use this kind of unit. I would say for a free-to-play player, he might be more helpful in some respects than Sophia at the beginning. But Sophia is definitely a late game hero. So it's really difficult. Now, something you'll probably notice about cavalry units is that at the moment they're all buffing each other. So with all these big buffs on each other, they could have a huge advantage that other units don't. And that's correct. Why do they have so many buffs? Because they're trash. Generally speaking, they're not. They just can't compete with the DPS of magicians and archers. They just can't get in. And that's why they need a whales treatment. They all need whale treatment. So if you're going to put a lot of money into these kinds of units, then take them all. If you're spending loads of money, you're going to awaken them all, go for it. But again, it's confusing. Cavalry Charge increases the sword cavalry's movement speed when they travel a certain distance. I mean, it's nice, but let me tell you, I used them in events. I used them like 1,000 times, and what he did to the units made literally no difference in the time of completion of events. And I did hundreds of games, and I monitored what he was doing, and his contribution was barely seen. So my problem again is this increase in movement speed is literally unnoticeable. Increases of 50% are not enough when it comes to speed, because that probably just means an increase of movement speed from 1.5 to 2.25, I don't know. Something weird that is just unnoticeable. And these people who give these weird ratings, honestly, just don't listen to them. I made that mistake at the beginning. So what to do with him? Double-edged sword. So on paper I like Cassius. In real life I don't. I don't want him. I don't want to see him on my team. But he does buff. Nah, I don't want to see him on my team. I don't want to see him. But he has the potential if you're a whale. So there you have it. Leave him there. On the ladder. And let's continue. Next we have Shamak. With the thing on his head. So what to say about Shamak? There are so many heroes in this game. I mean, you're probably lost by now. So what are you going to do? Well, it's difficult. He's a magician. Drusilla is a magician, but he's completely opposite. He's just not focused only on attacking and like just damage over time. He's completely unusual. Casts an AoE curse, dealing 100% magic damage, reducing attack speed by 50%, and reducing physical damage by 25% for 10 seconds. Now, what's more important about him is that if you raise this skill, I believe the magic damage is up to 150, whilst the physical damage can reach 50%. And I think what's special is it could be it could be for 10 seconds, and the cooldown might be reduced to 20 or even more. I forgot. The point being is that he's got a unique set of skills that could make him one of the best magicians in the game. Now, he deals magic damage to a distant enemy, reducing their physical defense. Distant. 50%. Now, if you use this cleverly with him standing doing it, tank defending him, and someone going round the back to deal with that enemy, I mean, this could help you through many quests. It could help you through the Leo deals, or whatever they call it, little deals. If you are a strategist, if you are a pretty clever player, Shamak is the man. He's definitely the best if you're into strategy. And if you're not into strategy, he might die before you even get a chance to use him. So for Shamak, who's part of the Jakans, which is a faction like Kremhild, a faction not many people will choose in Arena, it becomes difficult. He's definitely, for a beginner, he's really good, but you won't notice much unless you use him correctly. For that reason, I might put him as a B or an A. I'd like to put him in the middle, to be honest with you. He's better than Drusilla. It's really difficult. It's like, are you going to use him as a leader and use up a leader's position? Yeah, if you have specific games. I don't feel there's enough certain games for his use. If you are a strategist, if you are a person into strategy, he's 100% an A to an S. In fact, for strategists, he might be really, really good for you. For general people, he's just not. Okay? In terms of someone who can deal damage and stuff, you might end up changing him for a buffer. You'll find out who. So it's really, really difficult. Because I think a lot of people don't have much use for him. Because there are too many other heroes to choose from, I'm putting him behind. I'm putting him in front of Drusilla. But in general, Drusilla has higher potential. Maybe I will switch the ladder around to say what could their potential reach. Drusilla's potential will go higher than his. So let's make this easier. Drusilla has that kind of potential. Silpha, probably this kind of potential in the right team. Zenus, he could be really powerful depending on the future. We don't know the future, so we'll leave him here. Mikau, just a bit higher. Depends if you awaken him, but depends what you do with him. He's a hard one. Sophia could really irritate you for a while. Yaragash, difficult. Cassius, he might be up there with a team of Cavs. So how the ladder's working out is very, very different. So it's good to see this, but it's good to know in general what you should be pulling. Because there are so many heroes, unfortunately this ranking is taking a lot more time than I prepared for. So we need to continue next time. Club Wisdom 8, over and out.